There are 4 different classes of tissue. This video is going to be about epithelium. Epithelial tissues are made of cells that come in 3 primary shapes: flat, cuboidal, and columnar, and different numbers of layers that affect what their function is. If they're a thin little single layer, they're probably better at diffusion and being smooth and frictionless. If they're a bunch of layers, they're probably better at reducing wear and tear. Hi y'all! I'm here in the Jackman's kitchen. We're going to be making some chicken for dinner with my cousin. And I wanted to show you some of the tissues that you can find in a chicken. You can see its skin, which is made up of quite a few different tissues because it's an organ. The top layer of the skin is made of epidermis. And this area of your body gets a lot of wear and tear and friction, so it's stratified squamous epithelium. It's many layers that works better for wear and tear kinds of things. Here's what you would see if you looked under a microscope at some epithelium. You can see the dark stained area is where there's stratified squamous epithelium. In this slide, you can also see that some of the cells are dried up and flaking off on the top. Stratified squamous epithelium is constantly regenerating, and the old cells on the top are flaking off, and new cells are being formed on the bottom or basal layer that are replacing them. The tissue is named for the top layer of cells, which you can see are flat, the flat shape, that is called squamous, which makes often a smooth, frictionless surface for things that are above. This same tissue is found inside of your mouth, and it doesn't have those dried, flaky levels falling off the top of it. So you can actually stick a toothpick in your mouth and scrape off some of those squamous epithelial cells from the top of it and look at them under a microscope. If we get to go back to school, we'll do that. Because epithelial tissue is always lining and covering things, it always has a top and a bottom. The top edge of it that's open to space is called the apical surface, and the bottom edge is referred to as the basal surface. And it's adhered to the connective tissue underneath by a membrane called the basement membrane, which is like a lot of sticky proteins. So you can see that on all epithelial, that it has a top and a bottom. These simple columnar epithelium are probably found in the microvilli of the small intestine because they look like they're kind of folded into a villi. Underneath here, there's some pseudostratified ciliated epithelium. They're called pseudostratified because they look like there's layers, but there's really only one layer. The nuclei are just kind of pushed up and down because they're sort of squished together. They have these interesting structures on the top called cilia, which are like flagella. They can move. And what they do, since all the cells are kind of linked together, is they move in coordination to help propel something along the surface of them. They're found in the trachea, and they also can be found in the fallopian tubes. So when an egg pops out of the ovary, the cilia will wave and push it down towards the uterus. In your lungs, they're going to push things up and out of your respiratory system. Your respiratory system, unlike your alimentary canal, doesn't have an exit. It's just a cul-de-sac. So if things get stuck, go down into your respiratory system, they get stuck there and they could cause cancer. Or your cells have to engulf them and get rid of them. So you have all these cilia to try to reduce the number of particulate objects that actually get down into your air sacs. A lot of cuboidal or columnar epithelium are part of the mucous membranes, and so they contain these cells called goblet cells that have great big vesicles, like Golgi apparatus vesicles, which is labeled number 1 in this diagram, that they use to export mucus into the lumen of the canal that they're next to. Another type of epithelium is called transitional epithelium. It also has an apical surface and a basal membrane. This basal membrane is held really tightly to the underlying connective tissue. This could be found in the bladder. Transitional epithelium is able to transition from looking like it's stratified to being a single layer because it's found in organs that are really stretchy, like the ureter and the bladder. And as the organ stretches, the cells slide across each other and go from being many-layered to single-layered. This next type of epithelium is called simple squamous epithelium because they're flat. The word squamous means flat. This is a really nice diagram in your packet because you can see a cross-section and you can also see the superior view. You can see how thin they are if you look at them on a cross section, but how smooth and tile-like they are from the top. They're very good for diffusion because they're so thin, and so they're found in places like the air sacs of your lungs as well as your capillaries. Simple squamous epithelium is also nice because it has a smooth and frictionless surface. So it's found in serous membranes that wrap around organs like your heart, so that as they're moving, they have a smooth and frictionless surface in which two things rub against, and they also secrete some liquid as well. Cuboidal epithelium makes up a lot of glands, like the glands found in your mammary glands, sweat glands. Also can be found in your kidneys. This is a cross-section of a kidney, and each one of those little circular tubes, the lumen is where the letters P's and D's are written, and each one of them is surrounded by a little ring of cuboidal epithelium that is making up the whole long tube. And in this case, they're probably absorbing more than excreting things.
Thank you.